I love a bit of drama in my life. It keeps me on my toes and it gives me something to look forward to. We are live from Bankfoot House. Well, I'm not at Bankfoot House, but my guest today is Nathan Schulz, is the drama merchant, and I'm really excited to be able to talk to him today about how the drama merchant and Bankfoot House come together. Hello, Nathan. How are you?
I'm good. How's yourself?
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you for joining me, and thanks for being at Bankfoot House and setting everything up so that we can have a chat today.
No, you're welcome. I was actually up here working on some bits and pieces, so it all worked out well.
Fabulous. Now, I'm consumed with curiosity. How does the drama merchant and Bankfoot House come together and work?
I was introduced to Bankfoot House by one of its members, and I was doing a show with the Anywhere Festival where the concept is to perform theatre anywhere but a stage, and working my radio play show called the Radio Play Hour, and had the idea of utilising such a beautiful heritage aspect, show people what life used to be like back in the days before TV and internet. And since that time, I've just grown to love working with the people here and being able to utilise the location to help Bankfoot and the people of Bankfoot show off this historic location a bit more.
The idea of radio plays really lends itself to that location, doesn't it?
It does, and storytelling is a big thing here.
Yeah, of course.
Even the location tells a story in itself. So I'll look at what storytelling angle I can help out with up here.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Last night I spent a bit of time. It's not a long piece, but I watched your Behind the Wireless, and that's on your website, and I absolutely loved it, and I loved it for a whole range of reasons, but in particular I loved the way that you brought the story together with creating this beautiful soundscape, and it's not just about a radio play. Can you maybe talk us through what it is, and then also give us some examples of how you made some of those sounds for that soundscape?
Behind the Wireless came from my vacation care workshop that I had to quickly readjust when I lost some work at the beginning of the year due to what we're all going through. So it started out as some online sound effect workshops where I figured, let's show kids how to make sound effects at home. And then it built itself into a storytelling aspect. So Behind the Wireless became, you listen to a radio play with me performing some of the sound effects to it. Then it becomes, I'm going to show you how to make the sound effect at home. And then I use a puppet, to which I call Mel Blanc, who is a silent film star, that the kids at home can then do a funny voice to a script that appears on the screen. And then there's some storytelling at the end of it where the puppet and myself include sound effects and play different characters. So it becomes a storytelling experience where you also have to listen to what's going on. And it's been a bit of fun piecing it all together. It's my first foray into film, is the best way to put it.
Well, I was incredibly impressed. I was impressed by the whole thing, but what I was really impressed with was that complexity that you had in there. So we weren't just having a radio play, and it wasn't just a workshop. It really was very interactive, and I loved the way you had the kids. It's like a recipe. You gave them the recipe that they needed to create their own soundscapes, and that's what I really liked. And I love the way that all of those materials were things that we would have in our homes. And and it makes it really accessible for the kids to be incredibly creative on a budget, and not something that's super difficult or difficult at all for the parents or their caregivers to support them with. That was amazing.
Yeah, no, there's different sound effects that I'm creating for different episodes. For the next episode that I'm working on, I'm utilizing War of the Worlds, and this time the kids will learn how to make the sound of a fire using a plastic bag, and the sound of the fighting machine using their dad's, if they're allowed to, ratchets. As the sound of the actual machine, and then I'll add in other sound effects that I have at home to sort of complete the sound as an overall effect. And none of the sounds that I don't adjust the reverb or anything. I try to keep it as old-fashioned radio style as I possibly can, because I feel like if I put any reverb or whatnot on it, it's a bit of a cheat effect. In saying that, in one radio play that I'm doing for Halloween as a podcast, I have put a little bit of reverb on it just to make it sound just a little bit different as an alien sound. But that's probably the only one that I've ever done it to.
Yeah.
And it's the smallest amount.
Yeah.
But I try to keep all my sounds as live as possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Nathan, I can see that you've got a whole range of household items there, although one of them doesn't look like I'd have it in my home. Can you run us through some of the soundscapes that you make?
Yeah, well, I guess the best one I can start on would be thunderstorm.
Yes.
A little bit of wind. A friend of mine, this is a wind machine. A very close friend of mine built this for me. It's wooden slats on a crank, and it just moves. If I use a card, I can make the sound of an aeroplane with it.
Wow.
This is an old canvas that you flick over the top, and then and what I'll use is a little bit of rice in a bottle for the odd sound of rain. And then a bit of sheet metal for thunder. That's the aspect of a thunderstorm.
I love that, and I mean, yeah, that was. I think it's all in the wrist action. Do you think so? Because I'm imagining that I'd be doing that, and it would just be, flopping around. So I think there'd be a bit of skill in that.
Is in the wrist action with the thunderboard. If I've shown people how to do it, they like to hold it like this and rumble it.
Yeah.
But to get the real effect, you've really got to use your wrist in the middle. It's just a little flick of the wrist, and then you just keep it rattling. Generally, I have two. I go boom on this side, the other side will go boom at the same time and rattle off.
Wow.
When I first learnt how to do a stormy night was for a show that I'd performed, written and produced called The Curiosity Experiment, and I had to create the sound effect of a storm for 13 people that sat inside a house. And I remember it as clear as daylight because it was starry skies outside, people dancing on the upstairs part of the location that we were at. And when I started the thunder and the thunder and the wind, people literally thought there was an actual storm going on outside.
Okay.
So it just comes down to being really attentive to listening to how it sounds.
Yeah, well, and that's right. So from your perspective in creating the sound, it's it's super important that you are pulling it together as much as a real event as you possibly can. But from a listener's perspective, I guess that for us, we are attuned to the sound of a storm. So when you get those cues, then your imagination really takes over, doesn't it? And so your mind starts to fill in all of the rest of the sounds that would be associated with that.
Yeah, see, when I'm not only using within bottles, I'm also using the back of my fingernails for the sound of rain. So generally, when the storm was going effect, I'd have somebody else sitting in the back using their fingernails.
Yeah.
And then once again, it's all about rhythm, because rain just doesn't go like that all of a sudden. It starts.
That's fabulous. We've just frozen for a moment, Nathan. I'm not sure whether you can still hear us.
Don't.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but, there you go. You're still there. What other sounds have you got there?
I've got the sound effect of which is another good one that people like me to do.
Yes, the train. Yep.
You use the bell, the whistle, and for this, there's actually coffee beans in this, and then you go.
Yeah, frozen again. So this is the thing with live. Oh, that's fantastic. And you pulled into the station.
Yes, that was a quick pull into the station. On behind the wireless, I actually show kids how to make the sound of the train from home.
Yeah, maybe we'll go and have a look at that clip, I think. What do you think?
Mobile phones, computers and Netflix, the radio, otherwise known as the wireless, was a central piece of furniture in the average family's living room. Families would crowd around the set and listen to the latest installment of their favorite radio shows. So join the drama merchant and his silent actor friend Mel Blanc as they create various sound effects and voices behind the wireless. A steam train. You will need the following utensils. 1 medium-sized Chinese takeaway container with lid, 1 round 1.5-litre Tupperware container with lid, 1 handful of white rice, 1 handful of uncooked pasta shells or macaroni, and 3 handfuls of brown rice. Now let's see the drama merchant put these ingredients together. In one hand, you will shake the Chinese takeaway container like so. In the other, you will shake the Tupperware container like so. Now we add 2 vocal sound effects. The sound of steam, and the train whistle, toot toot. Let's have a go, shall we?
So Nathan, we can absolutely see how easy it is to make those train noises. That clip is fantastic, and I love the way that kids will be able to do that totally on their own. It's brilliant.
I tried to make sure it was simple and easy to do.
Yeah, good on you. Now, what's coming up for you at Bankfoot?
Well, today I was actually up here filming some small sequences for a possible workshop that I'm working on, but it might also turn into something for Behind the Wireless, where it's going to be a Bankfoot adventure, utilizing some of the newspaper articles that I've been introduced to. I'm actually able to create some storytelling where the kids will be able to create some of the sound effects within the house that might have happened up here.
Wow.
One in particular will be taking 2 cups and making the sounds of horses as they come to visit Bankfoot House.
That's great.
Back in those days. And we're looking forward to working on, at this point, it's Pinocchio at the end of the year as a live radio play broadcast. We're still in the process of working some bits and pieces out. But my crew and I will return back up here to perform it. We've performed Little Women last year as a radio play, and then same with the Christmas Carol. So this year I decided to do Pinocchio, which will have music from the period, and my cast will be up there in hopefully some sort of outfits, maybe some performing some of the sounds, and there'll be an interactive element for the kids as well as they make some of the sounds. There's always an interactive element to it.
Yeah. Do you know what I really love about what you're doing there is that, I mean, it's really just expanding the opportunity to use a location to immerse us into, you know, the full story of what it is that you're saying. And I mean, you could just go anywhere and see a play like that, but to do it in a venue like Bankfoot really gives a whole different level of experience, doesn't it? Particularly when you're bringing sound as well as storytelling and location together. I just love it.
It does. When I'm on the Gold Coast, I'm performing in a 1940s Queenslander house down there, or I was, and I was performing some radio plays in there, and it was interesting watching the audiences attuned to just listening to a radio that was sitting in front of themselves, and they could see us just behind the doorways performing.
Wow.
And the sound effects, or sometimes I might bring the microphone into the room behind a radio that's there, so the actors will walk in and perform, but you'll see some of the sound effects in the background, and people were getting a feel, especially younger people who were brought along by their grandparents and such, were getting a feel of what it was like in a time period when they had to listen.
Yeah.
They had to use their imagination, and that's part of my drive as the drama merchant, is to rebuild that idea up again. I love specializing in intimate shows, and hopefully at one point I'll be able to talk with Bankfoot about a show that I'd like to perform here, utilizing the space even more. But there's also rules that I've got to follow, because it's such a beautiful heritage listed house and I love it to pieces. So I'm still building on a concept that I would like to do up here, but at this point it's looking like it's Pinocchio, and then a couple of other little ideas for next year with a reappearance of Little Women in May is something that we were also discussing.
That sounds wonderful. Now, I'm going to just ask you, like so many other people in the arts industries, how have you managed over the last few months with COVID?
Well, single-handedly, I rebooted my business when COVID came into it. I was supposed to be performing some intimate shows that were going on, and obviously I couldn't, so I decided to embrace the radio play nature and start building my online theatre company. So long-term goal is not only will I be performing live shows to intimate audiences of 20, maybe 30 people, because I know that in the past I've done that and it has worked. The smallest audience I've ever had was 10. Mm-hmm. I'm going to build on the podcasting angle with some radio plays, audio storytelling, a live stream online theatre, and then live on that side. It hasn't paid any wages yet, but in order to keep the roof over my head, I also clean holiday houses at the same time, which is something most performers never really talk about, but I don't hide from the fact that that's actually what's funding my work. And that managed to keep me going during the whole COVID aspect. So,
well, I don't think we have a lot of choice sometimes, do we? You know, you have to do whatever brings the money in. But I imagine that the task of cleaning gives you some opportunity for your mind to run free.
Oh, it does. I'm of many different ideas, especially when I'm cleaning showers. I've come up with so many different sound effects whilst I'm cleaning the shower.
Yeah.
But it gives me time to rest from a creative point of view, but to think of other ideas. But moving forward, it's all about for me as an artist. Things aren't going to be the same after this for a little bit of time. So I'm looking at trying to create entertainment available for people to watch and listen to and to come and see. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing all of that with us, Nathan. What I'd like you to do, the audience out there, is to jump onto Bankfoot House pages and just stay on top of what they're going to be doing with Nathan, because that Pinocchio is going to be fabulous, and there'll be a combination of online and in situ performances. So I really encourage you to get your kids there, get your kids having a look at this behind the wireless and putting those activities together. Thank you, Nathan. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you. If there's anybody wants any more information in regards to Behind the Wireless, check out my website. The episodes will be loaded up monthly because I'm a one-man band at the moment.
Yes.
But I also felt it was easier doing it as a monthly thing, so it gives people a chance to watch and play and what I might be doing next.
Absolutely. And it'd be terrific for the kids to do some recording of the work that they're putting together with those soundscapes as well, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. If any kids record their work that's on Behind the Wireless and they send it to me via social media on my webpage and social media and tag everyone in it, because I think it's a great way of showing how kids can be quite inventive with sound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Nathan. We'll catch up with you soon. Thank you for watching. It's been such a pleasure to talk to Nathan, and I can't wait to have a look further through his website to see what other radio plays he has on offer. Thank you. That was terrific. Yes, the internet is problematic out there.
I understand.
Yeah, never mind. I can't wait to see what you do with Pinocchio. Seriously, I love the rich textural
in this
element
episode,
that you
Around
bring
the World in
to
80
a
Days,
visit to
featuring the
Bankfoot
sound
House. I
effect
mean, it
of a
could just
steam-
be a very dry, a dry experience. But what you're doing really does engage so many more of your senses. It's so lovely.
Sometimes build on with, I didn't want to say other establishments because I'd like to get there with other heritage listed places, but to me, Bankfoot just seems like it's the perfect place to give people an experience to not only what's actually here, but get an idea of something else that I will go around the world in 80 days or less. Do you accept? Yes. was I actually wanted to have 6 people sit in
I
this
shall
living room
depart for home
whilst
this
I was performing
instant
the radio
by horse
over in the other place. So it would
and
actually come to the
carriage.
radio that's in here. And just to give them that experience.
Yes.
And a few people have told me that people won't sit there and listen anymore.
Prepare yourself.
Especially kids.
We
And I
leave
thought,
in
no,
10
they will.
minutes.
You've just
No
got to teach
trunks
them again to
unnecessary.
do it.
Yeah.
Only a carpet bag. In it, 2 woolen shirts and 3 pairs of
Fruit
stockings.
show with the
same
Curiosity
for you.
Experiment. Before I was supposed to start that show, I would sit the audience in 10 minutes worth of silence before the show would even start. And every time someone spoke, it would start for 10 minutes. And it was interesting. People started learning very quickly. You have to learn to listen. You have to learn to be quiet. And today's day and age, kids are just bamboozled with sound, with shows, with everything. But the one thing I've learned with my vacation care workshops is when I do this, their attention span is completely there. So that's what I'm going to continue doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's fabulous. I love it. All right, Nathan, thank you.
Join us for our next episode when Phileas
yeah,
Fogg
and that's it.
and Passepartout make their way
I'll
around
still
the
be
world.
here when you're